All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. My name is Kyle Demian. I'm joined here with Renji Matthew, as usual. And then today we have another special guest. We brought on Shannon Carpenter of Alpha Team Financial. Shannon is in the financial services space like Renji and I, and is also an entrepreneur and business owner. Wanted to bring him in today just to talk about his experience in entrepreneurship, business, as well as, the different ways to leverage and use life insurance, like we've talked about before, like the wealthy and like the rich have done for decades. We're going to get Shannon's viewpoints of how he has used it personally and how he's also helped his clients leverage and use these types of policies for becoming their own bank. So Shannon, thank you for taking some time to jump on our podcast here with us today and for hanging out with us. Maybe if you can, give us like a 3 to 5 minute overview. Who is Shannon Carpenter? How did you get into business and into the financial services space? And just tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So it seems like it's kind of a sad story. It's a long time ago, so we're all good. But so I was probably early 20s, and my father was 53 years old, perfectly healthy, police officer. He was standing on a chair hanging in a backdrop. He fell off the chair. He hit his head on a table. It caused a sudden coronary, and he died instantly at 53 years old. We thought we had life insurance through his work. And it turns out there was all kinds of weird stipulations, right? Because through your work means they own it. It's kind of like a company car. You can drive it while you work here. But when you don't work here anymore, we're taking the car back. So with his particular policy, I want to say it had some weird stipulations, like you had to be shot on the third Saturday of the month when Jupiter and the moon aligned properly and whatever. So he didn't die on duty at all. So the community pitched in, a couple fundraisers were done to raise money. We got him buried, but now my mother, who is about 11 years younger, is getting used to having only one income. So that's a massive adjustment. And neither one of them made a lot of money. She was a loan officer. He was a cop. Back in the day, those two industries they didn't have very high incomes. So now fast forward a couple of years, my mom finds out she has breast cancer, and she actually beat it. She's very healthy. She's doing good today. But she missed roughly 6 months of work with the chemo, the double mastectomy, reconstruction, all those different operations. She missed a total of about 6 months. So imagine you have one income is gone, and now you're living off half of your income. I sit her down to say, what can I do to help you get through this? Like with money, how far behind are you on the house and the car? And she said, no, I'm good. I've got this policy I took out with this company. It was a cancer policy. And it had paid her a little over $40,000 for all the things that she went through. That particular company was one of my accounts. I used to be an IT person, and I managed an IT firm, and they were one of my best clients. They were literally a couple buildings down the street. So for 2 years, they've been trying to recruit me. You got a good personality. You know everybody. You'd be so good. And I kept saying, oh, thank you, but I don't really like insurance people. So It's funny. I always say nobody comes into this job willingly, I don't think. It's not like you go to school and you tell your guidance counselor, I want to sell insurance when I get big. Like, nobody does that, right? It's like a secret society or some kind of cult you have to be invited into, or you have to have a story. Like, that's my story. When I saw what my family went through with those two events, it made me think, I need to share this with other people. Someone else is going to go through this, and they might not have the resources to build up some money to bury, someone in their family. They might not have the money to help their mother get through this type of situation. Their mother might not have that kind of policy that helped her. Without that policy, she would have had her lights turned off. She could have lost her house, her car. She'd be living off ramen noodles. Like, there's just no telling what the outcome would have been had she not had that policy. So I talked to my boss that day, and I said, man, listen, I've been with you a long time. I feel like this is something I'm just being led to do. And he said, hey, I support you 100%. So I went through, the life insurance training, and I worked for that company for several years. And then I worked for a few others here or there. And then I finally opened my own agency so that I could really do a little bit of everything. We have a Medicare team. We have a property and casualty team. I've got a health insurance team. I probably have 100 different agents that do nothing but basic life insurance like mortgage protection, final expense, equity protection, stuff like that, burial plans. And then there's probably myself and about 5 or 6 others that really dig into the whole life insurance retirement planning, LIRP, or as it's been called, the 501k, right? And then there's another term, the laser fund. Are you familiar with laser? Liquid assets safely earning returns, Doug Anders, right? So I got really heavily into that to learn how to, one, help people get out of debt. I have a debt AI software that guarantees to eliminate 70% of your total interest, allowing you to pay principal payments and get out of debt sooner than later. Then I also, like I said, I have a team that specializes in everything from index universal life to infinite banking, which technically infinite banking is the process, right? It's putting money into a policy and loaning it back out. You can do that with an IUL or a mutual whole life. It really just depends on how the person wants to use the money. And then annuities, obviously is another good option too. So it just depends on how they want their money to grow, how they want access, when they want access. Ask probably 15 questions to find out which plan is right. Because an IUL is not for everyone, right? I had a 72-year-old guy call me last week, and he said, I've been watching your videos. I'm ready to buy. I want an IUL. I said, how old are you? He goes, I'm 72. I don't have the heart to say, man, you're probably too old for a retirement plan, right? Like you missed retirement. It was 10 years ago. So I played along. I said, okay, well, how much are you willing to contribute, to your future? And he goes, I could probably swing $50 a month. Now, you know as well as I do, $50 a month is not going to help him at this stage of life. Now, if it was your baby that you just had, Ranji, congrats again, by the way. If you put $50 a month in on that child, an IUL is going to be insane. It's like starting 4 401ks where you can't lose money, you never pay taxes, and you can touch it any age without penalty. That's going to be massive for your kid. But when people understand infinite banking, it is a mind-blowing, like a light bulb goes up and you can see it. I can ask the same question 2 ways and I'll get different answers. Renji, how much money do you want to pay in insurance premiums? Well, as little as I have to, right? Yeah. That's when when your client says, how much do I have to put in to get it started? They're in the wrong mindset, right? If I ask the question this way, Renji, how much do you want to deposit in your bank account every month? Well, now the answer goes from as little as I have to as much as I can.
Yep.
And when they understand that this is not a bill, when you buy a final expense product, that is a bill. You're paying premiums for the cost of insurance. That money is going to the insurance company and they can do whatever they want with it. You're not going to see that money again. Versus with like an IUL or a mutual or a participating whole life, when you put money into that, it's more like a banking alternative. So what I have to do is get people's mindset wrapped around this is not a bill. It's not just an insurance policy. It's more of a bank account. So to do that, I just ask them a simple question of, what do you think banks do with your money? Like banks don't have money. So when you deposit money in the bank, what do they do with it? Everyone says, well, they loan it out to people at a higher rate, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they do. But before that, what do? Well, I guess they invest it somewhere. They do. You're exactly right. Now, where do they invest it? So on my website, I have a link that shows you a list from the FDIC that's updated every 3 months. I'm sure you're very familiar with the site. But it shows a list of 3,800 banks that currently own $209 billion with a B dollars of life insurance. And it says as an asset. And I'll still have people on TikTok blowing me up going, that's not why banks put money into life insurance. They do it so that when Kyle dies, they make lots of money. Why would they need to do that? They're the bank. Sure, they do get money from that, just like the Rockefellers. Same thing they did. When somebody died, yes, the trust got that money. But that's not why they do it. They have to have so much of their money in Tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital is the securest rating money can have. And to my knowledge, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but life insurance and government securities bonds are the only 2 things I know of that even qualify to be rated Tier 1 capital. So when you walk in a bank and you see member FDIC, we don't have a clue what that means as a population. We're just tickled to death that our bank is a member. But what that means is your money is insured up to $250,000. So if you have your money in a bank that just goes belly up, like banks are doing right now, and you had $500,000 in there, you just lost half your money. versus there's something called SIPC insurance, which secures your money up to $500,000. And that's what most of our financial products have. So it's a higher security rating, but they mainly do it because they can safely put money into that and earn right around 10% return on their investment just off of putting the money into life insurance. So the question I ask people is, banks sell CDs and they sell IRAs. And let's face it, whether it's a Roth, a 401k, a 403b, a 457, they're all IRAs with some type of little tax twist. So if the banks are selling IRAs, why aren't they buying what they sell? Why are they buying what we sell? Right? Why aren't we, as a population, doing what the banks are doing? And the biggest question I get when I show this to people is they go, well, then why don't more people know about this? Why don't more people do it? Well, because the government restricts what we can really say and teach and educate. In fact, if you look at our school curriculums, other countries, they know this basic financial information, probably by high school. Our school systems don't allow that to be taught. The federal government approves the curriculum. So what they teach is, get out of high school, go get you a student loan, get in some massive student loan debt, get you a good job with a good 401k, guaranteeing us a 35-year paycheck. And if you try to touch it too early, we're going to hit you with an extra 10%. And then when you retire, by the way, if you check the stats, 84% of retirees with a 401k still do not have enough money to retire. So they have to go back to work. So it is a failed system. In fact, Ted Benham, he even went on record and said it was not a control monster. He wished he could blow up and start over. And Ted's defense, when he kind of started the whole 401k thing, there was only two options, right? You had a fixed option and you had a risky option. We're going to put money in the stock market. So people just did a 50-50 split. Today, when they go to work, there's like 48 different options from low risk to high risk. They have the illusion that they are getting to choose where their investment is going. They don't. They get to choose which bucket, right? Their mutual funds. So inside the bucket are, let's say, 10 or 20 different stocks. They don't have control over what's in the bucket. They just get to pick which bucket. So they don't have the control that they think they do. And I've got that whole article on my website also from Ted Benham on why he now puts most of his money into 501ks or LERP or laser, whatever you want to call it. So, sorry, I ramble a lot. What do you guys have?
No, that's good. It's information that we talk about all the time, but it's good to hear from another expert that's been doing it, which I guess let's go into that a little bit more. So how do you set these up for your clients? Like what's the goal? What are most of your clients looking for? Are they looking for retirement or actual infinite banking concept? What do you do more?
So it depends, one, on age. It's not a general rule of thumb, but typically if they're about 55 or under, and they just want to put money in and let it grow and use it later for retirement, I pretty much go to an IUL. If they are older than 55 and they're just looking for a final expense product, a permanent life insurance policy, but they don't want to pay the rate of a whole life, then I still use an IUL, right? There's multiple ways to use an IUL. If you came to me and said, hey, I like to flip rental property, right? I want to buy property, I want to flip it. So you want to put money in right now, and then 2 weeks later, you want to pull that money out. I'm going to use a mutual or a participating whole life, same thing. So it has to be from a mutual company. There's nothing wrong with a stock-based company, right? I mean, Transamerica, Mutual, Omaha, AIG, Aflac, all wonderful companies. We use them every day for basic life, but they are publicly traded. So insurance companies have made too much money each year, right? And that's the dividend. Let's look at it that way. They got to pay the dividend out to somebody. They're either going to pay it to a stockholder, which may not even have a policy, or they're going to pay it to the policyholders if they're a mutual company. So to work with me personally, the company has to be in business for 100 years or more, and they have to have never once missed a dividend payment. See, I can call the 4% you get from the whole life a guarantee. What I can't call a guarantee is the dividend. So what I can tell people is this company that I'm going to put you with has been in business 150 years. So during World War II, the Great Depression, market crash of 0809, the tech bubble, 9/11, even coronavirus, these companies never missed a single payment. If you didn't miss a payment during the Great Depression, you're not going to miss a payment during our lifetime unless Jesus comes back, right? Then you don't even need a policy. So essentially, if you said, yes, I want to flip houses, what I would do is it's really important to look at how much money you're putting in to the account. When their mindset is still thinking it's insurance premiums, then I haven't done my job well enough. I need to educate them first on how it works. So, back to that, we talked about putting money into it and what the banks do. Well, if the banks are putting my money, my paycheck, if they're investing that in life insurance, earning 10%, then they use fractional reserve banking to loan my $1 to 10 different people at the same time, then collecting roughly 500% return on investment. Then they go, hey, man, thank you so much for loaning us your paycheck so we could invest it, make a fortune. Here's 0.01% back. Why wouldn't I just open my own bank account that I own, and then I can use that money, I can earn the 10%, and I can loan it to whoever I want. So that's what I do with it. Personally, I also teach track racing at the Corvette plant. That's my hometown track. So I like to race cars.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with me. I like jumping out of airplanes. I like swimming with sharks with no cage. Like if it's adrenaline, I'm in. The faster,
So hopefully you have a bunch of life insurance on you.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Every time I say I'm going to go swim with sharks, my wife's like, cool, have fun. Like, so, no, I got a cool wife. She wants to go with me. She's like, cool, let's do it. For our wedding, we went swimming with sharks. I'm talking like 30-foot massive sharks, no cage, no nothing, just jumped in and swam. And then
That's
for our anniversary, we went skydiving.
That's crazy.
So, oh gosh, ADHD is kicking in here. So for me, for the Corvette, just to make math even, the car is roughly $90,000. Let's say I have $100,000 cash in my bank account, and I'm going to go pay cash for that vehicle. Well, I would now have the vehicle, let's call that the asset, but I would not have $90,000, right? When I check my bank account, I only have $10,000 left, which is a lot like a 401k. If you had $100,000 and you borrowed 90, you're only earning interest on the 10,000. And by the way, if you just Google the average return of a 401k, you can find it on Investopedia. According to Investopedia, 4.1% is the average 20-year return of a 401k. And I have people that just don't know how to read their statement. Like, well, mine earned 22% last year. I'm like, how much money did you lose? And they're like, about $30,000. But you can't have a 22% return growth with loss. Right? That doesn't make sense. Only about 3 or 4 years ago, the Department of Labor changed the laws and tell these providers you got to show people the fees, which are massive. That's probably a whole other podcast. But anyway, sorry. Back to the car thing. So instead of paying cash for the car, I take $100,000 out of savings. I put that into an infinite bank. Whatever you put in the first year dictates how much you can put in each year after that without making the policy, right? Modifying down the contract, making it an investment. And the word investment, we can't use the word investment for our products because the word investment dictates risk, and ours are guaranteed. So I love when people are like, that's not a real investment product. I'm like, thank God. No, it's not, because I don't have a license to lose money like you do. I don't have a license to lose people's money. I have a license to guarantee them growth and no loss and no taxes and all those other cool features. So we take the $100,000, we put it into an infinite bank. A couple weeks later, the account's set up. I log in, I click take out a loan. Now, if you notice, it says take out a loan. It does not say apply for a loan. It's my money. I don't have to apply, which means it doesn't hit my debt to income ratio, doesn't hit my credit score, nothing like that. So I now have $90,000 as a loan, and I go and I pay cash for the car. So the car can never be repossessed. If Corona hit again and I missed 3 months of payments, they don't care. As a matter of fact, since I'm the bank, I determine the payment. I can pay $20 a month for that brand new Corvette. I can pay $1,000 a month. Let's say I never made a payment, ever. What really happened behind the scenes, the reason I have the asset, the car, and I still have $100,000 in my bank earning me roughly 10% is because the money, the loan, really came from the carrier's general fund. They loaned me their $90,000. Now, why would they loan me $90,000 and never expect me to make a payment or not even care if I do? Because my death benefit is the collateral. And they know for a fact that I will die one day. Everybody dies, right? Even Jesus died. Yes, he rose again on the third day, but he did die. Everybody's going to die. I love when insurance people are like, God forbid, honey, you were to pass away. What do you mean, God forbid? She's going to die, I promise. So I love that line. God forbid you were to pass away. I'm like, don't sugarcoat it. She's going to die. Just, they know this, right? So
Yeah.
if I start out putting $100,000 into that policy, roughly, I'm 45. I just bought myself about a $500,000 permanent life insurance policy that grows, let's just say 50 grand a year. I can't do that math in my head, but let's say I'm 75 years old and it's worth, I don't know, $3 million. My poor family is not going to get $3 million because I bought a car for 90 grand, and let's just call it 100 to make my math skills even here. I borrowed a car. I owe them $100,000. They're going to take that $100,000 out of my $3 million death benefit. My poor family is only going to get $2.9 million. In the meantime, I use that to buy the Lotus, the BMW, the Corvette, the beach house, the camper, the boat, the jet ski, like everything I have used with OPM. Y'all know what OPM is?
Yep. Other people's money.
Right? So
Yeah.
I use the Infinite Bank. And for most people, the things that I buy would be called a non-productive asset, like crypto. If you set cryptos on the counter, they don't reproduce and just make little crypto babies. So, the same thing. A car is typically a non-productive asset. But with what I do with my car, I actually make money with my car. So to me, it's a productive asset. But anyway, that is how I have used it. I also flip houses. Me and my business partner and I, we are into flipping houses. So we'll buy a property, flip it, and that ties up capital. So if I went to the bank, even if I got like a construction loan at 6%, I'm still having to pay them interest. And that's not a bad way to do it. But when people understand how the Infinite Bank works, yes, the insurance company is charging you about 5% interest, but I am charging myself 5% interest as well. So when I want to buy a property, I take it out of my Infinite Bank and I go buy the property. I just write them a check. I don't have money tied up. My $25,000 I just used to buy that house, or the 50, whatever it is still sitting in my account earning me interest the whole time. So I'm really just using the insurance company's money again to buy this property. Now, once I flip it and I sell it and I have a profit, so like we just bought a $25,000 house. We put 25 in it to make it very modern, updated, very nice. We listed it for 105. It sold the next day for 115. Some people just can't negotiate. Guy literally called and said, "Hey, if you take it off the market today, I'll give you 115." We're like, "It's yours." So we take that profit, we put what we put into it, 50 grand, and we put that back into our Infinite Banks. So he and I both have an Infinite Bank set up, and we both pull money out of it, and that's how we bought the house. So we take what we put into it when we replenish the money that we took out for the loan. We make an extra 5% by putting that money back in the bank. We charged ourselves interest. But then we just take the profit that we had, and if there's enough room in it, we can put that back into that account. We can put it in our bank to use for whatever. We could take that and put it into an annuity. Like, there's so many options that you could do with that money. So sorry, again, I ramble a lot.
No,
you guys
no, that's good.
No,
that's good. You went into details.
Flashing red lights, be like, your turn's over.
No, you're good.
We'll do that for you. No, I'm just kidding. No, you talked about so many things, and yeah. But like one of the things that you just mentioned at the end, let's talk more about that. You charged yourself interest, and I think people tend to forget that like there's an opportunity cost to every single decision that you make with your money. If you were to take that $90,000 and to pay for the car in cash, you're giving up the opportunity cost of the growth of the 90,000 over time, right? Versus if you finance that car for 90,000, you're paying interest to a bank. And this is exactly what the whole concept of infinite banking is eliminating the middleman and continuously having uninterrupted compound interest. And then you paid yourself the 5% back that otherwise you would have paid to Bank of America. Instead, you're making the Bank of Shannon richer than the Bank of America. So I love it. Everything that you're talking about is spot on, and you've got a great energy that you're just making this whole podcast. We're already 24 minutes in somehow, and it's just been flying by. So, that's been great. Renji, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on that he had mentioned, or any other things you want to get clarity on for the viewers too?
I was going to ask, do you you have examples of using it yourself, and you already went over that. Do you have examples of your clients using it? Like you said, you have clients that do the infinite banking and IUL or the whole life. Do you have a few examples of your clients using it to grow their businesses and all that?
I do. I have several clients that flip houses. So lots of them use it like I do to flip houses.
Yeah.
I have other people that have used it just to buy assets, toys, boats or whatever. But I also have business owners. Like I've got a couple of restaurants, and I just went to them and I said, how much do you think it costs to run your business? Like you got to buy food to sell food, right, at the restaurant. Unless you, I guess, go catch it or kill it yourself or whatever. You're buying product. I said, how much a month do you think you spend in product? They said, probably 10 grand. I said, so that 10 grand is coming out of your bank account, which was only earning 0.01% interest anyway, so not a big loss there. But then you are cooking the food, selling the food, and you're making a profit. You're replenishing that $10,000 you used from your bank account. And then next month, you're using the same $10,000 again. What if you use an infinite bank? And they're like, what do you mean? What is that? So imagine if you took that $10,000 and you put it into this account. That $10,000 is earning roughly 10% at all times. Now you loan yourself $10,000. You buy the product. Your 10 grand is still there, earning interest. Now you buy your product. You cook the product. You sell the product. You take the profits. You pay off that $10,000 loan. You just made yourself even more money. And now you can use that $10,000 again next month. So just keep rinse, recycle, repeat. You can do that with any business. I also have a TV app. A buddy and I created an app. When we do our, financial questionnaires, I go through people's bills with them. Like, how much do you pay for your house or your rent, your car payment, your insurance? Like, I want to get a big picture of your bills and what that looks like. And, a lot of people say, I pay $300 a month to DirecTV or Dish or Spectrum or AT&T, whatever they have. If they pay per app, they have Hulu, Netflix, Disney, they're paying roughly $90 a month. So I actually went to school for IT. So a buddy and I developed this app, and we just tried to market it to our area. We thought it was going to be like a friends and family thing. I live in the rural mountains of the Appalachian Mountains, Eastern Kentucky, and the average household, I'm talking mommy and daddy together, is about $22,000 where I live. I was just doing it to try to help people out. So we marketed this at $35 a month. You get everything on TV. I mean, if it's on TV in any language on planet Earth, that's my restriction. I can't get channels from other planets, but I can get everything on Earth for $35 a month. So I used infinite banks to start up that business because it costs a lot to develop the app. It costs a lot for this and that. And the system, kind of like a CRM system that we have, that keeps the TVs are all on a timer system. There's no contracts. So if you try it out and, $35, you pay me. And next month, if you don't pay your bill on time, it just shuts your TV off. That's usually when a lot of people go, hey, I forgot to pay my bill. Can you turn me back on? But I've got that. I do photography. I mainly do like racing events, and I do a lot of weddings. So I do photography, videography, and making films. I use my infinite bank to buy my camera equipment. Like I've got $20,000, $30,000 worth of cameras and lenses and all that stuff that most people would have had to have gone and paid cash for out of pocket. Whereas I bought a dishwasher. Our dishwasher went out. Did you know a dishwasher is $1,000? What the crap? I mean, for a dishwasher, $1,000. Yeah. So if it's over $1,000, I usually use my infinite bank to buy it. But that's pretty much the extent. I've got a few different. I think I have 9 different companies, LLCs or whatever. But property management, flipping the houses, photography. I've got a cooking channel online. I've got,
I've seen that one.
Yeah, and then the Naughty Boy, which every time we mention that on a podcast, you can see people like on a Zoom. We were on a Zoom once, and somebody said, if you all haven't checked out the Naughty Boy, go to TikTok and look up the Naughty Boy, and I can see people's faces go. And I was like, you spelled naughty wrong. That's not me. But Knotty, I teach people to tie like Merovingian knots and Trinity knots, and that's when I learned TikTok's algorithm. I had one account, and I had like a little bit of cooking, a little bit of racing, a little bit of photography, just basic life stuff, all jumbled into one account. And I had a few thousand followers. On Christmas Eve, about 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3, I started a new channel because every time I go speak at conferences, people always stop me and ask me about my ties. I'm not even wearing it. I got on a t-shirt, I teach Dress for Success. I'm in a t-shirt, but at least y'all have collars and a couple buttons. I look out of place now. Point that out on myself. But anyway, I started the Naughty Boy to mainly just upload videos of how I tie these fancy knots. So when Renji goes, "Hey man, how do you tie that?" I can say, "I'll send you a video," right? Instead of trying to teach them, send them a video. Well, I posted a video at 11 o'clock that night about the Trinity knot, of me tying the Trinity knot. The next morning I woke up, I had an email from TikTok asking for my bank account routing number. I'm like, honey, they're trying to steal my identity. I just opened an account. And we checked out my account. I had 34,000 followers overnight. Wow. So
that's crazy.
I realized I've researched and found out that once you hit 10,000, you became a digital creator, whatever, content creator. So they started paying me to make content. And that's when it dawned on me, TikTok's algorithm likes you to stay on point. So now I have separate channels, right? I've got a separate cooking channel, a separate photography channel, a separate Alpatine Financial channel talking about, money, the same thing that you guys do. So I think once you understand how that algorithm works and what a like does and what saving it does and sharing it and leaving a comment, all those things do for people. So anyway, back to you, sir.
Nice. Well, that's cool to see someone that's doing what they talk about, practicing what they preach instead of just selling a product and not doing it themselves. So it's really cool, and I appreciate you being on here with us. Can you go into something where, let's talk about what's one of the biggest failures you've had, and what did you learn from that, and how did that help you? I guess we can pivot some more into mindset stuff. How did you overcome that, and what did you learn from that?
Goodness. Biggest failure. Don't get me wrong, I've had a lot. I'm just trying to figure out which one.
I don't think you're an entrepreneur if you didn't have plenty, right? So,
well, I learned most of my lessons the hard way. I can tell you that. I learned because no one taught me the right way, and I did it, and I messed up. And I learned, don't do that again. But I would say one of my biggest lessons was learning not only how to coach my own team, but how to teach them to coach me, right? I'm their upline, or I'm their manager or their boss, depending on which company we're talking about here. So I had a boss back years ago. I worked for a big box tech store, and we have this new manager, and he and I are good friends to this day. But when he first came in, he wanted to show everybody who was boss, right? He was one of those guys. So he came in, he was like, "Need y'all to take all these boxes down from this display and move them all." I'm talking 100 boxes of, different computers or printers or whatever, and put them all on this wall. And then after my guys did that, he goes, "No, I don't like it. Put them back." Stuff like that. Yeah. So, and I get very defensive, especially if it's my people. So I get very protective. So he and I butted heads a lot. And finally, we sat down and talked. And once I learned how to not have this defensive wall go up and how to just take constructive criticism and learn how to fail forward, I guess, and learn from that. But like I said, the biggest one is everybody learns a different way. So if I hired Renji and Kyle, maybe Renji can just be told, "Hey, Renji, do it this way." Boom, he's got it. Maybe Kyle's a visual learner. Maybe he needs to hear it 2 or 3 times. Maybe he needs to see it done. Or maybe he's like me. He has to do it. You could show me how to do something on the computer, and I still don't get it. I need to do it. I need to actually do it. You tell me where to click and teach me how to use this website or this IUL or how, whatever. I've got to do it myself to learn it. And just realizing that everybody has a different learning style, I think will help anybody in any business be better and learn how to coach and manage a team of people.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. What about what's some of the worst, what would be the worst advice you would say you've ever received as an entrepreneur?
Worst advice. Goodness, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Throwing you a curveball. If this helps, what about what's some of the best advice that you've ever heard? And then we'll come back to worst advice. But what would you say is the best advice for an entrepreneur?
The best advice for an entrepreneur, one, is not to give up. Any business is probably hard to start. One, it's hard to take the leap of faith and start a business. I would have probably never been in the position I'm in right now had I not gone through what, I told you earlier with my parents. I'd have probably still been working for that same company. But I took a leap of faith. I basically went out and became a 1099 with no guaranteed paycheck. And listen, I was in my 20s and I made six figures, had a company car, short-term, long-term dental vision, life, health insurance, all paid for 100%. I had a credit card for the company. All my expenses were paid. I could take you all to lunch, say how's business, the company pays for it. Write it off. They paid for my tires, my oil, my gas, like everything to do with that company car. I had it made. And I quit that job because I just felt like I am being led by a higher power to get out and help other people. Just don't quit. In our industry, especially, we have about a 91 or 92% failure rating in the first year. Most people fail before they even get started. And I think that's with any business, really, but especially if you're in the insurance business in general, it is a tough gig to get going. I've hired countless people, and I tell them, look, this isn't easy. Like, I make it look easy because I've been doing this 20 years, almost like 17 or something. But when you've been doing it that long, I have residuals coming in. I don't have to work hard every day. When I was new, I busted the streets. I wore out a pair of tennis shoes in a month, walking the street, meeting everybody. I'd hand out my business card. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really even have a lot of training. I'd walk in, say, hey, I'm Shannon. I work for this insurance company. Here's my card. If you ever want to chat, just give me a call. And I'd run out because I expected them to tell me no. It wasn't until some lady, I left my car running. I never forget this. I was brand new, left my car running, left all my materials in the car. And I was driving by this gymnastics place, and I kept telling myself, just one more stop, right? It was the end of the day. I was on my way home. Just one more stop. I stopped in there and said, hey, I'm Shannon. There's my business card. If you ever want to chat, see you. Have a good day. And I'm on the way out the door, and the owner goes, well, wait a second. I got time now. If you want to talk now. I was like, you did? Let me go turn my car off. I'll do that. I had to go back. I had to go get my bag, and I was all excited. And she was one of my first customers. And it's like a light bulb went off in my head that, I'm not just a failure at this. It's just a numbers game. You can't take it personally. And nowadays, we do most everything online with leads. People go online searching for help. They fill out a form asking for help. Now, the problem is they probably fill out 14 forms. It goes to 14 different companies and 14 different people, and telemarketers are all trying to call them at the same time, and they get frustrated. So when I hire a new agent, I tell them straight up, listen, you're going to call 100 leads. Out of those 100 leads, 90 of them might hang up, cuss you out. They don't remember filling out that form yesterday. Like, we got a timestamp and an IP address. We know you filled it out. But they're like, I don't remember doing that. Well, I didn't fill that out. Yes, you did. But but I just tell them, look, the leads suck. Yes, you're buying leads, and I'm telling you right now, the leads suck. So don't come to me next month going, these leads suck. Yeah, I told you that. You're going to call 90 of them. 10 of them are going to answer the phone. Because you're so new, probably one or two of them might buy a policy. Now, as you get better with the process and learning the craft and learning the products and figuring out how to ask the questions, really it's figuring out how to have the heart to help that person and not going into the meeting thinking, how can I overcome their objections to get them to buy something so I can make a paycheck? Because that is what a lot of people do wrong. They go into it thinking of what's in it for me instead of how can I help this family? And if you truly go into it with the mindset of how can I help this family, whether they buy something or not, how can I help these people? Then I think you'll succeed. But my analogy is, you're buying a lot of leads. It's kind of like a big pile of dog poo, right? And that dog ate a diamond. You're digging through the poo trying to find the diamond. There's a diamond in there somewhere. Just don't give up. Keep on making phone calls. And the first time someone answers and says, yeah, this is Renji. Hey, you filled out a form asking for help with an IUL? Yeah. I've been waiting for a phone call. Thank God you called. When you get that first answer like that, you're like, oh my Lord, these work. And now you're so excited, you don't even care if people hang up on you. You're like, dial, they hang up on me. Next, boom. Like, it doesn't even hurt your feelings. Just next, just trying to find the people that actually want your help. If they don't want my help, that's cool. Next.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't give up. It's my biggest piece of advice.
That's great, Shannon. Thanks so much for taking the time to meet with us. It was actually pretty cool, Renji, to have somebody else here that's in the same industry And
Yep.
we all kind of say the same things, just slightly different. A few words
Yeah.
here and there are slightly different. And most people know of life insurance or think of life insurance as just being a death benefit. It only
Right.
pays out, when you die. But to life insurance, there's so many different living benefits that come with it, especially like Shannon's talked about, the different ways to be able to leverage life insurance and to use it for tax-free accumulation, to access your money, to be able to borrow from yourself instead of having to borrow from a bank. And to entrepreneurs, these solutions just go hand in hand really with your businesses and your processes that you already have set up. So if you guys have any questions about how to use life insurance while you're alive, like the wealthy, how to set yourself up for financial success, you guys can reach out to any of us, myself and Renji, as well as Shannon. And Shannon, most importantly, where can people find you on social media? Where can they go to follow you and learn more from you?
The easiest place is my landing page. It's solo.to /ShannonCarpenter. So SOLO.to/ my name. And that'll take you to my landing page, which shows you my cell phone number, my calendar. You can self-book on there. It shows you my email address. It shows you all my social media accounts. So that's the easiest way to find me. I did have one question for you, and I want to know, how do you handle financial planners when they are telling the clients, "Oh, just write it out. Right? I'm losing tons of money in my retirement account, but my guys tell me just write it out." Is there because I have two ways that I handle those people, but I'm curious to see what you guys do.
I would say it depends on their age and their health. And actually, it's so funny because Renji and I were talking about this yesterday. He was having some interaction with the financial planner too. But I always ask the client, it depends on them and their goals. And I made a post yesterday that said, if you look at the stock market and it makes you feel uneasy, that means maybe you shouldn't be in the stock market. You should look at other options. So if it's giving you that worry and maybe some anxiety and you're constantly checking it, like those are all signs that maybe you have too much money in the stock market, too much money at risk, whatever the purposes or the reason may be. Like if it's causing you anxiety, money shouldn't be causing you anxiety, and your planner should be there calming you down. And if they're not calming you down and for some reason they're talking to us or mentioning it to us, I mean, that raises some red flags in my eyes. But that's my 2 cents. Renji, go ahead if you have a response.
It's adding on to what Kyle said, because that's like he said, I had a guy that was having a conversation back and forth. But at the end of the day, what is the client's goal? Is the client's goal to have a bunch of assets but no income, or is it at retirement to have income instead of having $1 million that they never use? Right. So because I have several clients that have done that. They're like, hey, I have millions in my account, but I'm struggling with my bills. What's the point? Why did you save all that up for? Is your goal to live a struggle life in retirement, or is it to live a passive income or a full life? You've saved all your life so you can enjoy retirement. But if you're not enjoying it, what was the point of any of it? So to me, I think it depends on their goals. It's like, are you saving it all up to have a life in retirement where you don't have to worry about money again? If that is your goal, where's all your money at? If it's all in the stock market and you're losing money, how's that helping you live your life in retirement? So it depends on their goals, and if they're wanting to have more, because the way Kyle and I, we like to talk about, if you're closer to retirement, you shouldn't have all your money in the stock market.
Right.
It's always good to diversify because, you have some places you have to take risks to make good money back. But at the same time, if you're wanting to have a safe retirement, it's not the best place to put your money in the stock market. Take your risk in business, right? So
I'll tell you my 2 secrets. This really happened. So I had a friend who said, she's a little bit older. She said, I'm losing just tons and tons of money. And she's retired. So she's like, I understand. Even if the market's up, I still keep seeing money coming out of my account. I said, it's because you're paying someone to manage your account. A 1% fee from your financial planner equates out to 28.8% of your nest egg. So roughly, if you had $1 million when you retire, they've taken about $300,000 of your money. And most companies charge about 1%. There's some that charge 2%, 2.75%. If it's 2%, they're taking 49.5% of your money. And people don't understand this. And I love when people on TikTok are like, you better ask about the fees on that IUL. Trust me, I know how fees are calculated. And I did a video just on the fees. And I like to scare people. I said, all right, Bob, look, when you're 65, the fees that year are $12,000. But your fixed indexed bonus credits equal to $88,000. So you gave me 12 and I gave you 88,000 back. That's a good trade. So don't worry about the fees. Yes, there's massive fees, but there's massive returns. As long as those numbers make sense, it's a good fit for you. If it's the other way around, you're paying massive fees and you're not getting enough money out of it to cover it, then we structured it wrong and set up wrong, something. But anyway, my friend, she goes, will you come meet with my financial guy, right? Will you come sit down and meet him? So when I walked in his office, I won't say which office it was, but it's a big outfit. And he knew who I was from TikTok. He was like, oh my gosh, hi. He's like, I'm one of your followers. I probably lost a follower after this. But he said, how can I help you? And I said, and I'd already asked her, I said, how attached to this guy are you? She's like, I'm not at all. I'm losing money and I'm ready to move it somewhere else. I said, okay. So when I got in front of him, I said, I got 3 easy questions. Can you guarantee me that from today forward, she's never going to lose a penny in retirement? And he goes, well, see, now that depends because the market can, I'm like, no, it's a yes or no. Can you guarantee me she'll never lose another penny? He goes, well, no. I said, can you guarantee me that no matter how long she lives, she'll never run out of money? Because that is an older person's biggest fear, right? I'm retired, I'm happy, and then all of a sudden I got to go be a door greeter at Walmart because I ran out of money. So he said, well, no, I can't make that guarantee. I said, can you guarantee you'll never charge her a penny in fees? He said, no. I looked at her, I said, I can guarantee you all 3 of those things. You ready to leave? She got up and left. So what's funny is she told her sister that story. Because her sister calls me, I want you to come meet with my guy. But I have been friends with him for like 40 years. And please don't do what you did to that other guy. So different strategy applied. I went in. You could tell he was nervous. Again, he knew who I was. And so he knows I know my game. So he's like, hey, it's good to meet you in person. How can I help you guys? I said, man, I just want you to know. We'll pretend like it was Kyle. I said, Kyle, I just want you to know that I'm not here to replace you. I am really good friends with her. I have a vested interest to make sure that she's well taken care of. And I'm not trying to replace you. I just want to be part of the team. You ever seen Meet the Parents? Yeah, you're in the circle of trust, Kyle. I'm not. I'm outside the circle. I want to be in the circle. So he goes, okay, so what do you have in mind? I said, well, your job in the circle is to invest her money in the stock market, correct? He said, yeah. I said, so you could make it big, but you could also lose it all. Is that accurate? He goes, well, it's not likely to lose it all, but I mean, sure, if everything just went, I guess we could lose it all. I said, so what you're telling me is your job is basically you're taking her money and investing it in Las Vegas. You're gambling it, right? Because you could make it big, but you could also lose it all. Is that accurate? He goes, well, yeah, I guess that's a pretty good analogy. And he saw me grin and his face went, oh, crap. And I said, so I looked at the client and I said, all right, so when you and your husband go to Vegas next week, how much money are you willing to take with you, risk, gamble, lose, never get it back, but you could still sleep at night? So she had about $700,000. I said, so could you stomach to lose $100,000? And she goes, Lord, no. I said, how about 50? I mean, you got 700. Could you live with 650 if you just lost 50? And she was like, that would suck, but I guess I could lose 50. Well, yeah, I can lose 50. I said, all right, Kyle, we'd like to leave $50,000 in the account with you. We're going to take $650 out of your account. We're going to put it in this annuity where she's not going to lose any 20% federal taxes. She's not going to lose 10% penalty. Instead, she's going to get about a 20% bonus, 15%, depends on which company you use and all that, right? So she's going to get a bonus for rolling her money over. So instantly, I can't do math in my head, but instantly, what is that? I mean, she got over $100,000 just in bonus money. Yeah. And now instantly has access to use that money without any penalties, fees, and she has guaranteed no loss, right? So anyway, that's the main ways that I handle financial planners. And when people ask me, like I said earlier, they're like, what's the difference in like a financial advisor, what you do, and a financial planner? And I just say simple. I do not have a license to lose your money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I actually did a statement review for someone that has a financial advisor. Everyone's probably heard of the company before, but there on the front statement, it showed 0 fees, 0 charges under $100,000. Right. So I go and look up what funds that they're in. And the funds, when you go and pull them up, they have front end loads, back end loads, and an expense ratio. An expense ratio is fee percentage, expense fee ratio percentage, right? That's what expense ratio means. So they show no fees on the front end, and the back end there was loaded fees and is like 2 to 3%, depending on which fund that they were in. And it's just insane. But unfortunately, like you said at the beginning, we're not taught about money in schools. We're not educated on this stuff. The financial world is almost set up to kind of be confusing. 401ks, IRAs, all these 3-letter acronyms, there's a million of them out there, and nobody knows what they stand for. Nobody knows what that means. I had somebody the other day that thought Roth was an acronym for ROTH meant something. And I'm like, no, that's just Mr. Roth that created the account, but it's like all these nuances. Yeah, we probably could. Let's ask ChatGPT or something. I bet they could come up with something good. But yeah, so Shannon, thank you so much for hopping on with us and hanging out with us for about an hour. This was a great show. A lot of different nuggets in here. So make sure to go follow him on social media. Thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.